From time to time, my clients get really curious about how I work as a career coach. And this happens especially when I'm about to travel and work remotely. So I decided to do a little episode about this. I know it's not necessarily job hunting, but if you're reconsidering your career, then having a business like mine might be something you're curious about. So let's do this.
Hi, I'm Renata Bernardi, and this is the Job Hunting Podcast, where I interview experts and professionals and discuss issues that are important for job hunters and those who are working to advance their careers. So make sure that you subscribe and follow, and let's dive right in.
I have here a series of questions that I have been writing down, knowing that one day I would have enough to do an episode with. I know I don't do episodes about this enough, but I don't think that they belong to the Job Hunting Podcast show. I hope that makes sense to you. But I also understand the curiosity, right? So I get questions from clients, I get questions on Instagram, people message me and ask me things, and I would be curious too. I was curious before, because if you're listening to the Job Hunting Podcast, I was you in the past. I had a career, I had a job, a full-time job, and I used to think about and dream about having my own business. And look, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. Like, it's not like all your problems will be solved when you have your own business. Quite frankly, you will have a brand new set of problems. But I understand the curiosity. So I have quite a bunch of interesting questions, and I hope that you like the answers. Let's see. First one. Do I make money from this podcast? I get this question a lot. And yes and no is the answer. So, no, I am not a famous podcaster that gets sponsorships and affiliate links, and I don't get that. Like, from time to time, I have done some contra agreements where I would, work with a company, and I think maybe once or twice I did this in the past. But mainly, the way that the podcast is works great for me is because, first of all, I love talking about this topic. So, even if I didn't need to make money for a living, I would still have the podcast. The podcast is non-negotiable, and I have no problem doing it weekly. As you can see, if you're in on YouTube, I've come to the realization that if I want to do a weekly episode, it needs to be easy for me to do. I do it in my office, in front of my computer, dressed whatever way I'm dressed, whenever I feel comfortable and ready and motivated to be on screen, I just do it. I don't really worry too much about it. Going back to the money, how do I make money from this podcast? This podcast is an amazing pipeline of clients for me. I just hang up the phone, actually not the phone, the Zoom, with a woman who found me through the podcast, and that's usually the best way to find me. I say this because even when recruiters recommend me, which they do, and other guests and other coaches and clients and people that have worked with me in the past, they recommend me, I still would prefer people to listen to the podcast first, because I think that they come warmed up. They come better prepared for what coaching is and how to work with me. And this woman that I spoke to right now, like, she understood me, she knew what to say, she knew, the sort of help that she needed. I think that the podcast is great for that. So it really does pipeline. It helps a whole bunch of people that may not be. I think all of the people that are listening to the show have the privilege of working with me if they want to, because I have a range of services. So, you don't have to pay, a whole lot of money to get one of my courses, for example, or have a consultation with me. But yeah, it's a great pipeline, and I love that. So that's why the podcast is part of my marketing strategy, and that's how I do make money from this podcast in the end. I would love to have sponsors on this podcast. I think this podcast would be a great podcast for maybe productivity tools. I would need to vet them because some of them I don't like. But productivity tools, I like quite a lot of them. If one day I become big, Microsoft Office, I love Microsoft Office. Um, Keyboards, Logitech, if you're listening, I recommend Logitech cameras and mouses and everything. I just think that you need to set yourself up properly at home and an office from home. Laptops, I could get sponsors, couldn't I? It's just a matter of me sort of thinking more about that. Can you survive only doing coaching? A lot of executives that are clients of mine ask me this because they know that I was on a good salary. I had a good career. I had, reached a very senior level in my career. Why would you go and become a coach? Fair enough. Honestly, it's very hard to make money as a coach. I have many friends that are coaches, and many of them struggle with the coaching. Um, it's I remember Steve Jobs when he said that once you have a good idea and you think that that's 90% of the problem solved, you're wrong. So when you have this idea of going out and having your own business or becoming a consultant and working as a freelancer, that is just your problem's beginning. So I think what I have that's different from probably some of my colleagues who are coaches or consultants and are working independently like I am, is that I come from marketing, so I am okay, in understanding that I need to sell. I need to be good at always being available to talk about myself and sell and have this great relationship with a pipeline of prospect clients. I understand that, and I know it's really hard, and because I've always had roles that were very external facing, it has allowed me to grow that muscle maybe more than other people. So if you were, internally working as in finance or HR, very internal roles where you didn't grow a wide network and you didn't have to sell or do business development or account management or relationship management, then you would find it harder to have your own business. Um, Going back, can I survive only doing coaching? I can, because I have a series of services that I created so that people can just go and buy them, because coaching is limited by the amount of clients that I can have. I can only fit so many coaching sessions in a day. So if I was only to do coaching, probably not. But because I have the Researcher Career Program and a group coaching program that, I coach at scale, and the Reset is a course, so you can just download it and do it. The Talent Predicts, the Find My Talents strengths assessment test that I have on my website. Again, it's not my time, but even when it is my time, for example, the LinkedIn audit, it's whatever time I can do it. It's asynchronous, so people book to do the LinkedIn audit with me. I will do it at my own time and give it back to them. So that also helps me manage my time. But yeah, definitely I can survive on coaching, and I make good money from it. Not from the get go, but now I feel like I'm doing quite well. How did you know where to start? I didn't. I think you have to give yourself permission to start from scratch, start from zero, start from not knowing, and if you stumble a little bit, sign up for the wrong things. I remember starting my website on a platform that I didn't like, and then buying some things that I didn't need, or you sort of stumble along the way until you figure out the best group of tools and resources and way of working that suits you and suits the sort of business that you're putting together. I did have a business coach for about 3 months. I also had great people around me, people that were consulting and coaching, that were able to give me advice, and I could ask them questions, even if it wasn't advice, just to see how they did it, to decide if that's how I wanted to do it, or if I wanted to do something different. And I took some risky steps, and did some things that were different from other friends of mine that are coaches. One risky step, for example, was to become a coach who is specialized in job search, and that's it. I want to be known for my job hunting expertise. I want to help people in transition, and I think that that is niche, but that is needed, and I want to do that. I don't want to be the sort of coach that, you know, yeah, I'm an executive coach, and from time to time, yes, I can help you with recruitment. I don't, that doesn't work for me. I want to be good at this game of this competition of finding jobs and helping people have more robust career plans for their careers. So that's really important to me. Um, how did you know how to set it up? Very similar question. I didn't. I asked a lot of questions and I got a lot of feedback from recruiters, from other coaches and consultants, people that have left their careers and started something new. So, how do you make that transition from a reputational point of view as well? Um, but basically, I spent a lot of time in the mechanics of it before I actually went to market. And I'd say it took me close to a year. My job was made redundant in October of 2018, and I launched the podcast in October of 2019. So that tells you that for that 1 year, I was consulting, but I was also sort of organizing my business the way that I wanted it. And that's very normal. And I know a lot of people that have taken that time to set themselves up. You can do that while working as well. It's not to say that you can't do that when you're working, but you just need to carve out the time, because it takes a lot of time, and it's not a linear path. It's ups and downs of you trying to figure out what to do. How do you find your clients? That's a very good question. I was very lucky that my clients kind of found me. So even before I had a podcast, I was already coaching. And I think I was really open to letting people know that I was available before I started coaching per se and earning and asking for money for it. I was mentoring. So I did a lot. I used to run a mentoring program at Monash University at the MBA. Um, but I used to be a mentor for both my alma maters for Monash and Melbourne Uni. I did a lot of mentoring for young professionals and mentoring for friends. I feel like I've always given people career advice. I remember being very young, like teenage years, and already providing that sort of service for free. I think people have always felt like they could come to me to talk about work because I enjoy talking about work and careers and education and options and professional development and things like that. And it was always intertwined with my career as well. So during the jobs that I had, I was able to, get to a lot of executive education schools, very important ones. I remember going to Said School at Oxford and just being so in awe of everything, London School of Economics, Chicago Booth, Northwestern. I've been everywhere, and I use UCLA. That really helped me understand what sort of professional development and career development knowledge corporate professionals want to have, need to have. That has always been very, very helpful to me. And then with the podcast, it just became easier. And I also was very good at contacting all of the recruiters I knew around Australia to let them know that I was coaching. So that's how clients used to find me. Now it's usually LinkedIn, podcasts, recruiters, and clients, a mix of all of that. How long did it take for you to feel financially secured as a full-time coach? That's a very good question, because sometimes you think you're doing well, but you're still in fear of that being just, a one-off and it not continuing. I remember feeling like that when I would lock in a few clients in a month and get a corporate gig, like an outplacement gig with an organization that was restructuring, and feeling, oh my God, I need to hang on to this because this is so good, it won't happen again. And then I realized that no, it was happening because my reputation was growing. Reputation is a combination of two things in my view, brand equity and brand awareness. I felt like I've always had good brand equity for these things that I'm doing now, but the awareness wasn't big enough. And I really wanted to, be. I've, I've always felt that what I can offer is quite universal and global. And I've had discussions with friends and clients and recruiters about this in the past. Like, how can you help somebody in New York if you're in Melbourne, Australia? I'm like, you won't believe how simple and easy and the same it is. It really doesn't matter where you are. So I think that it took me a while to feel comfortable that the ups and downs, sometimes there are months where I don't have many things going on and I don't need to panic anymore. It's just how the calendar year works. So that is something that I have now felt more secure, but in the beginning it was really tough. How long did you take to feel? How long did it take for you to sort of feel more secure with your new career path? Now, this is really interesting as well. It's not so much that I um, felt that I was doing okay as a coach, but how is it to sort of transition out of something that you used to be quite good at, known for, and 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 knowing that as time goes by and you move farther and farther away from that work experience, you're going to start losing contacts and losing your knowledge of how things work and all of that. So that that loss is real for me. I really, feel it. Like, and it's the same. And I remember once working with somebody and he said, look, you have to use my knowledge about this very quickly because in 6 months time people are going to start to move jobs, move away, blah blah blah. So let's use this knowledge quickly. And I totally get it. Like, I used to work with a lot of politicians, for example. If governments change, people lose their seats or whatever, then that knowledge that I have, that access that I have from potentially lobbying or advocating for a cause or doing a partnership with a federal or state department, that's gone. That's the sort of stuff that I used to do. And I lost my status quo on that. I lost my footing on that. I can still sort of, if I wanted to go back, I still know how to do it, but my connections are moving on and changing careers as well. So I sometimes miss that. So it is awkward to change career paths later in life, and sometimes I look back and I think I don't even think that is. I can't believe that was my life. Sometimes it seems like somebody else's life. Is it awkward to be selling your services all the time? Not really. I understand the question because most coaches have a protocol for selling that's quite in your face. And I remember being trained to do it. One of the things that I did right at the beginning, it was like, okay, it seems like all of the coaches sell their coaching programs this way through very intense sort of phone calls and connections and emails and this and that. And you have to lock it in when you have the client on the phone with you. I never force anybody to lock in, a big private coaching program with me over the phone. It doesn't feel right. I just don't like doing it. So I often tell them, I want you to discuss this with your partner. I want you to sleep on it and make sure that this is the right decision for you. I do the other way around. And it it works for me. I sleep better at night knowing that I am doing what is best for my client. This woman that I was speaking to just before, I said, look, coaching is a privilege. It's a big investment for you. I want you to go back to my services page and see if there's anything there that you think could be, an option for you right now, because you need to make sure that private coaching is the solution. She was keen to do it, and I still wanted her to double check that that was the right thing for her. I will tell people on the phone or in those sort of Zoom discovery calls what I think is best for her. And I did say what I thought was best for her, but it's up to them to decide. And sometimes if I say, mate, you need to work with me for 12 months for us to fix all these burnt bridges and move you away from this terrible situation that you're in. Most of the time, it's between 3 and 6 months. And I will say, I think 3 months is fine. I think 6 months is fine. I never try to oversell anything because I don't need it. I'm doing fine, right? So I don't need to force anything down anybody's throats. So I don't feel bad about telling people what they need. If they want to work with me and they come warmed up from the podcast, I think they already kind of know what they're in for. It's not awkward for me to sell. How many clients can you see in a day? Oh, that's a good question because theoretically I could squeeze in, I don't know, 6, 7 people in a day. That would be a really full on day. One thing that I don't think I thought of in the beginning was the emotional toll that it would take on me to be talking to people that, especially at the beginning of the coaching process with me, could be highly anxious and stressed, right? So for that reason, I pace myself in not accepting too many new clients all at once, and also not having too many sessions in a day. Maybe like the ideal day for me when I'm on a coaching week, because I coach every other week, would be to have 2 or 3 LinkedIn audits to do and maybe 2 or 3 clients. Sometimes I have 5 clients in a day, and that's okay. I can do that. But more than that, I think it's too much. I like to not have a hard stop because some people take a little longer to warm up, and if I'm having the 1 hour consultations, which people can just book online, I need a little bit of, we need a little bit of getting to know each other in the beginning, and then it sort of flows better. And then I don't want a hard stop in 60 minutes because that's not the sort of person I am. If we need to continue on and finish a topic, we will do that. And then I need maybe 30 minutes to go for a walk, stretch my legs, drink some water, and then I have another client. And then the next break would be a 1 hour break, right? So, and then a 30-minute break, and then another client, and a 1 hour break. So that's how I manage to squeeze in as many as possible. And the days are long because I have clients all over the world, which means sometimes I have a coaching session at, I don't know, like 6, 7 a.m. in the morning for me. Sometimes I have coaching sessions 8 p.m. at night. I try not to do too many evening sessions, especially if I'm in Australia. I'm going to be working from Brazil next week. So by the time you listen to this, I'll be in Brazil. I'm okay working in Brazil in the evening. I don't know if I'm because I'm jet lagged or it's just the culture there, like people sleep later. But here in Australia, I don't know. It just doesn't work. I think yeah, especially in winter, it can be really dark here, so it doesn't work well for me. Um, so would you go back to a full-time job working for someone? My friends ask me that as well. Like they ask, do you miss working, in a full-time job or in a corporate job? Do you miss that? I wouldn't go back right now. I don't feel like I need to. I feel like this lifestyle that I've created for myself and this business that I created for myself is so fulfilling. It's so purposeful. There is not a single day where I am not proud of what I do and proud of my clients and proud of my podcast listeners. I get so many messages, thanking me, and it just warms my heart. Like, how could I walk away from this? This is just so good, and I'm making a living off it. So I really don't feel like I want that. But I have seen people try the coaching and then go back, and that's completely fine. And they were able to do it and fulfill that dream of, testing it out and experience. Imagine if you get much, much older and then you've had this idea that you could do it and you never tried it, you would regret it. You might as well do it. And I know that if I decided to go back into the workforce, I could do it. Why couldn't I? Well, I am a job hunting expert. I should be able to do it for myself. Uh, but but even if I wasn't, I think that there is definitely an opportunity for me to go back if I wanted to. But I don't feel like that's the path for me. I miss things. I do. I miss having a team. I think the hardest thing for me in that 1 year where I was, thinking about the business and learning how to do it was I was quite spoiled in my corporate life. I had a big team and I could delegate things to other people. I remember Chris, my lovely EA, she used to come here and have lunch with me. I used to pay her. We would go to a cafe and have a lunch together so that she could tell me how to do things because I was so dumb, and unaware of how to manage my own day to day. I became quite reliant on everything. I had meetings with people that worked with me that used to run the incubator just to give me tips on how to, manage interest in my business that I got at the beginning, partnerships that were being offered to me. I didn't know how to handle these things because even though I had that as part of my portfolio of responsibilities in big jobs, I used to have teams that were experts in analyzing those sort of opportunities. I didn't have to do them myself. So I had meetings with the team for them to help me. And now I just miss, having those catch ups and working together and putting big events or big projects together. I used to love that, and I do miss working with them, and I miss those people in particular. People I worked with at Monash, from top and down. From managing up to um, my boss, and people that were above me, to people that used to work alongside me, and people that used to work for me. This week I had lunch with Tammy Fitzgerald, for example, who used to work alongside me, and she's fantastic. So sometimes I still catch up with them, but not as much as I should. I should organize more catch ups because I miss people. And at the Monash Foundation, I miss them terribly. My team at the Monash Foundation, the John Monash Foundation, was incredible. I loved everybody that worked for me. And this week I had a catch up with one of the John Monash scholars. So I'm always trying to catch up with people, but I miss them a lot. Would you go back to a full time? What do you miss? What do you miss? I've already said what I missed. It's basically the people, the people and the perks. Okay, what do you miss from your previous career? The perks. I missed, like, I used to travel business. Now I'm going to Brazilian economy. I just don't want to spend my money upgrading. I sleep. I actually do sleep well on planes. If nothing happens and I don't damage my back carrying my very heavy suitcase, I do well. Like, I sleep well, and I don't mind. Even though I'm quite big, I'm 5'10". I don't mind economy, and I wouldn't spend on a business ticket, at least not yet. I feel like when I'm older maybe, but right now I don't mind. So I miss the perks. I used to travel a lot for work and stay in the most amazing hotels and meet the most amazing people, and I loved being part of amazing, great ideas and projects, and purposeful um, projects that we were putting together. I really do miss that. Sort of the scale of things, I think, is probably what I'm trying to say. But I think that even though I'm proud and excited of the things that I did in the past, I'm equally, just if not more, happy now than I was then. What does a day look like for you? I get this question a lot. What does it look? What does it what does it mean to work for yourself? How do you motivate and do you get motivated and get yourself out of bed and do the things that you need? How do you know what to do? I get this question a lot from clients when they are workshopping ideas for their future career planning and design and what they want to do. And I understand the question, because when you're working for a business, your motivation is like, I need to get out of bed and go to work, otherwise I'm going to get fired and I'm not going to get a salary. Whereas when you're working for yourself, you need grit. You need the perseverance and the sharp sort of intentionality. Like, you need to be very intentional about what you want to do. And that came from having a business coach, putting together a business plan, knowing how much I wanted to earn every year, and, then figuring out how much, if that's what I want to make as a career coach, to make myself happy and pay my bills and more. And, how am I going to price my services? What sort of services will I have? What sort of clients do I need to that have the potential to pay this? What's the size of this market? You have to do a business strategy, a complete business strategy. So if you haven't done that yet and you're listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, you have to. And I talk about this, and I discuss this with my other coach friends all the time, when they say, oh, I'm putting together this program. I say, okay, how much do you want to make out of it? The pricing strategy for coaching and consulting is probably one of the hardest things to do, I think. So what does a day look like? I have two types of weeks. So my coaching week is very intense. I usually do meal preps on Sundays because I don't even have time to cook, or I eat very simple things. I don't go to the gym much during a coaching week. I try to walk whenever I can, and I do a lot of functional movements around the house. So coaching week is when I'm doing all my laundry and all my sort of gardening and all of that, because those 30 minutes I have between sessions, or that 1 hour that I have between sessions, I want to vacuum the house or do the gardening and do all of that, because that will get me moving. Because the gym, for me, I can't do that, because if I start coaching at 7 a.m. and I finish coaching at 8 p.m., it just doesn't fit to go to the gym. So it's a very intense week of being in front of the computer and talking to people, taking notes, getting back to them. So I have a coaching session, then the notes go into my CRM, an email goes out to them immediately after the coaching session. And, I need to sort of organize what it is that I need to do for that client. It could be that client needs to do a review of the resume or their LinkedIn. I try to do as much as possible during the coaching week. Sometimes it doesn't fit and it spills over the other type of week. So the other type of week that I have is the week where I go to the gym every morning. Every morning I go to the gym, and then it's a more relaxing week, but it's still hardcore. I have more control of my time. So I go to the gym, come back, shower, breakfast. I probably start working around 11. So if you're working for a corporate employer, you will be very jealous of that. And then I will do a 90-minute sprint, very Huberman style, I'll do a 90 minutes flow. It would be something like I will do a podcast, or I would do something for Monash University if I'm prepping for my teaching, or I will do a workshop preparation for a corporate client. And then I'll have lunch, and then I will probably do one or more of those 90 minutes sprints in the afternoon. It would be the podcast or something to do with my business, maybe a new program, an update of an old program, marketing, yeah, so that week is really like that. So I try to do all my corporate client work that week. When I say corporate client work is usually strengths assessments for teams. Um, it could be demonished teaching. It could be more of the outplacement work as well. If I have a big group of people that were made redundant, I can't fit them in my coaching week. I have to do it in the other week. So that's what it looks like. How do you know how to charge? Um, how do you know how to charge? That is a very good question. I kind of went on my own on this. I had a couple of discussions about consulting work with friends of mine that are consultants right at the beginning, back in 2018, 19. But then, frankly, career coaching, executive coaching is such a sort of unregulated type of business. I just needed to figure out what I thought was the right price for my ideal client that would make them feel comfortable paying, because it is a big investment, it's a privilege, but also high enough for them to take it seriously, if that makes sense, right? Because this work is busy work. I looked at how doctors charge and how physios charge and how other coaches charge and psychologists and all of that. And in the end, I decided I just needed to come up with something that I felt was specific for my clients, corporate professionals, experienced professionals, not young professionals, working in nonprofit, corporate, or government. And is this something that is worth their investment? So I think if you've attended some of my workshops, you will know that like I price my online services, the courses and the talent predicts, in a way that it's like buying a pair of shoes to go to work or a bag to go to work or a new keyboard. That's how I think. This is how I think people will invest in their professional development. And then the group coaching program would be equivalent of buying like a laptop. Do you need a new laptop or do you need to do group coaching? What is more important for your career right now? And then private coaching is a step above that. But, the idea would be to, if I invest in private coaching and I'm working with Renata helping me out, can I speed up this process and learn this recruitment and selection thing quickly and get a job sooner? Yes, then it's worth it, because then I'll get a better pay or get a pay, and whatever I paid her, I'll make up for it by not being unemployed for longer. So that's kind of how I priced it. And a lot of people ask me that when they're thinking about becoming coaches or consultants as well. And finally, tips on being a digital nomad. One of the reasons why a lot of clients have been asking me questions lately for the past couple of weeks is because I'm about to go overseas and work from overseas. So when I tell them, the reason why when you go to my Calendly, you will see sort of times are a bit different is because I'll be working from Brazil for the next month. And then after that, I'll be working from Europe. And they're like, oh, but are you going on holiday? You didn't tell me you were going on holiday. And I'm like, no, 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 this is not a holiday. I will be working and I will be not in this time zone. I will be in a different time zone. So it takes them a while to figure it out. It really suits me a lot to work from different time zones, because then I have different availabilities for my clients in, let's say, the US and the UK. Especially when I'm in Brazil, it's perfect for the American clients. It's basically the same time zones as people on the eastern coast and central coast, so that works well. But yeah, so I take my laptop, I take my one of my microphones, not my Shure, because this is the Shure. I'll take the Samsung. I will take a notebook, and that's it. That's all I need. I can work from anywhere. When I met my mom and dad's in Brazil, I have an extra monitor that I bought and I left there. When I go to my son's house in the UK, I can use one of his monitors. He has lots. I love working with two monitors. If you have been following me for a while, I don't think you can work from home and not have two monitors. I'm not. It's funny because I am a digital nomad. This will be my third year. So last year I spent 2.5 months overseas. The year before a little bit less. Now it will be 3.5 months. So I'm sort of becoming more and more comfortable working from anywhere. But when I say working from anywhere, I still need a quiet office. I can't see my clients in a busy cafe. I have to have a room that's quiet, that's private, so that all the conversations are confidential. And I'm lucky that I have the opportunity to do that from different locations. So it's really a privilege and I love it. My tip from being a digital nomad is to find your style and have always test for the best possible Wi-Fi. I think the biggest problems that you can have working from anywhere is not to have good internet. Can't work without internet, especially for me, because not only I use video, but I also share screen. If you know, whenever you're sharing screen, the quality of the connection needs to be perfect for that screen to share to be good, and that's the biggest thing that I think people need to understand. For me, if I'm traveling, I need to have great internet connection, and I'm lucky that both in England and in Brazil I have that. So well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, a bit different. Next time, we will be back with the usual job hunting topics that you're used to. But for now, be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye!